The relatively few in the GOP that were pitching themselves as anti-war, either in general or specifically in regard to a conflict with Iran, predictably, almost every single one of them has already bent the knee. And it doesn't perhaps matter that they now have the position that Trump wants them to have, so MAGA will love them. The hypocrisy, I guess, doesn't matter at all, but it matters to me. So we're gonna point it out. Matt Gaetz back in 2019 had said, Mr. President, your closest allies in Congress join you in not wanting an endless, unfocused, unconstitutional war with Iran. Just check the list. See, Trump doesn't want the war and we don't want the war either. As soon as it happens, President Trump basically wants us to be like the Soleimani strike, one and done. No regime change war. Trump the peacemaker. Peacemakers typically come armed with 30,000-pound bombs. That's true. So first of all, is that actually what Trump wants? No regime change? Well, as we'll get to, he certainly seems interested in regime change. But even if he didn't, if Biden had done the same thing, do you think Matt Gaetz would be like, oh, well, he has the best intentions. He wants it to be one and done. That's how war works, right? You just drop the bomb. You walk up to a person, you punch him in the face, and they don't do anything. That's how it works in the real world. Even more embarrassing, perhaps, I guess would have to be Charlie Kirk. He said back in 2024, that's not even that long ago, by the way. I agree, I don't want war with Iran. Trump's record in the region is undeniably better than Biden and Harris. And oh boy, during the election, did they say this a lot. That Harris is just going to fallopian tube us into wars because you know women and how emotional they are. We need Trump, a beacon of peace and stability. And what happened after the bombing? Iran gave President Trump no choice. For a decade, he's been adamant that Iran will never get a nuclear weapon. Iran decided to forego diplomacy in pursuit of a bomb. This is a surgical strike operated perfectly. He acted with prudence and decisiveness. And my God, is he not only glazing Trump, but ignoring reality. So first of all, Iran decided to forego diplomacy in pursuit of a bomb. Iran was gonna meet with our diplomats, and the day before that, they were bombed by Israel. Israel forewent the diplomacy so that they could stop Iran or whatever, because they didn't want a deal. If they did, they would have been pushing Biden and Trump to get back the Obama nuclear deal, which actually did stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. The rewriting of history in real time to cover his own cowardice. The fact that Charlie Kirk doesn't have a goddamn spine. Oh, he falls to his knees so naturally just to beg, please don't throw me out of the MAGA movement. Oh, I was grandstanding, implying, because I know that much of my audience doesn't want war, and I want to at least pretend that I'm in this for them and not for my elite benefactors or whatever. But now it looks like we're in for this thing, so I guess that has to be my position. And there's more. Matt Bender also pointed out some other, America stands with President Trump immediately after it. And Tulsi Gabbard bent the knee. She did this even before the bombing. I guess she probably knew about it, but on Friday she said, well, hold on, but pause from that. We'll remind people of what she said back in the day. On Friday, we reported on the Young Turks. She said the media has been taking her out of context about her March testimony that Iran is not pursuing a nuclear weapon. It is 100% crystal clear, concrete. That's what she said, and that's what the intelligence community has repeatedly said since then. And she was like, no, I actually meant that they were getting a bomb. This is so pathetic, JR. And we can put on her tweet before about the not wanting war. She said that he would go for the war because that's what Netanyahu and the others want, and she was right back then. But now she wants her job, okay? So she's gonna ignore all of that, JR. What do you think?
I wonder, I'm just asking, are the guardrails on? Because this is one of the main things about the difference between Trump 1.0 and Trump 2.0. I mean, when he's running for president the second time, after he lost in 2020, there was this whole thing about how people were talking about how the guardrails would no longer be on. We heard about his desires for going to war. We heard about his desires to want to shoot at American citizens in the streets. And the guardrails were shaky, but they were there. They got damaged and beat up a little bit, but they were there. So as the guardrails are no longer on, all the people that said that they had these principled stances, at least Donald Trump's not gonna put us in a brand new wars. They said it over and over and over and over again. Just like they said he's gonna bring us into this economic bastion of the Garden of Eden and everything's gonna be wonderful. How is that going, by the way? Not very good. And neither is this whole thing with the war. This a-hole, Matt Gaetz, had Marjorie Taylor Greene on his show talking about how they're both beacons for peace and how they're not gonna have anything to do with this war. That's as it was coming to almost at the precipice of it, right before Donald Trump was all about it. I mean, he always kind of was, and they were just playing the game along with it. So I'm just curious, Where is Tucker Carlson now? He called you a sucker, an idiot, or kooky. And then he said you apologized. You dropped to your knees like a little, and you begged him for forgiveness. Where are you now, tough guy? Where are the guys that people who still had some kind of hope that the people who are gonna hold this guy into line and into check, where are they? They're saying things like what Matt Gaetz is now saying. Peacemaker Trump, he only killed and attacked a certain number of people. Peacemaker Trump, he only dropped several bombs on facilities that he had very shaky ground for saying that they even had nuclear weapons for. Not even shaky ground, but provably false desires and evidence that they say they have for this. It's just, who cares? I don't know. This Marco Rubio was on Sunday shows talking about it doesn't matter what kind of evidence there is. We heard about it. This is the process for going into this exact same type of thing that they are not going to be fighting with their children and with their resources that they're hoarding at the same time. If you don't understand that the people you keep trusting to not be dishonest, unprincipled people like Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Lindsey Graham has always been a warmonger, who's brought them all on this side, bro, you're just not paying attention anymore. Please stop fooling yourself. It's time to stop acting like there's any guardrails and it's time to just fight back. Sorry, but that's what it is now.